Hi everybody, my name is Julia AnchorHaven and this is a full disclosure diary episode. And in this series, I talk about things that are going on with me personally, things that I've noticed in the community, things I've experienced that I want to share with you guys. I'm documenting this for basically for everybody, but also because I seem to be getting a lot of mind wipes. Recently I noticed that the mind wipes are really active, because I've not been doing as much work with a friend of mine who used to kind of keep me in check with my memory situation, and that I discovered that there was a video from 5 months ago that I wasn't familiar with. And the video was Sean Bond with John Whitberg. And I've been reading John Whitberg's books, The Man with the Periwinkle Eyes. I'm still on book 3. I know he's writing book 4, and that should be released in November 2025, which is very exciting. I've been finding these books quite activating. So just know that they are encoded, that this is a testimony, and that if there's information that resonates with you, you may have an activation off this book series like I did. I was able to do some heart healing from it. I was able to connect into an ancient artifact as well, which has been really beneficial. But I discovered, because while I was going through content for John Whitberg, trying to catch up, because I've only really been looking into this stuff for, the last 9 months, that there was a video, and I love Sean Bond. I watch his channel most of the time. I do try and stay up to date, but there's this video and I was really unfamiliar, and I was thinking, I don't remember this video. So I started to watch it thinking, great, I found something that I've not seen before. And then within 5 minutes, my name is mentioned because I was in the chat and on the original live broadcast. And I'm literally sitting there watching this video thinking, what? So I pull up the live transcript for the chat, and there I am. I'm asking questions and all this stuff, and I have no memory of this video taking place. I have no memory of being in the chat, of asking those questions, and it just blew my mind. It's like my mind had been wiped. It was as if I wasn't meant to know the answers to those questions. One of the questions I'd asked had been about UK bases. Does John Whitberg know anything about UK bases? And he'd mentioned Peasmore base. And until a month ago, I had no recollection of Peasmore Base in my head until I watched a video with James Casbolt, and he talked about Peasmore Base and he talked about Project Ibis. And then I made that connection there with Ibis and Mannequin. But 5 months earlier, John Whitberg had been talking about this on a live show with Sean Bond, and he'd answered my question about UK bases and responded about Peasmore. So I don't know what's happened in the last 20 weeks, but that information was definitely taken out of my head. And then now I've started to look into those kind of things more and more, do a bit of work with Miles Johnston. So that's one thing that's sort of major this week that's blown me away. I've had a massive realization that my mind wiping is really active right now, but I've caught it. It surprised me. So I really need to start taking a lot more notes. I need to keep more diaries. My problem is that I lose my diaries. I have multiple notebooks on the go. I've got ADHD, I'm autistic clearly, and I lose things all the time. Or they get misplaced or whatever. Anyways, that's one major thing that I've noticed this week. So yeah, so I'm doing these diaries. We might be number 15 or 16 or whatever in this series right now, and this is me documenting what I'm going through in hope that it will help somebody else. But please do know that my voice can be activating, so don't listen to this while driving, because recently I had somebody who did, and then they went into a bit of overwhelm, started to get a memory cascade come in. So please note, do not listen while driving, do not listen while operating heavy machinery, because you might have a reaction, an unexpected reaction. Okay, so just make sure that you're nice and relaxed when you're listening to videos of people who are in the super soldier community or psionics or psychic healing community. Just know that there could be reactions now, because the energetic field and everything, people are getting a lot more tuned in, a lot more kind of connected. So just bear that in mind when you're listening to any videos, not just mine, any videos or reading books that are about experiences that have a lot of emotional energy attached. Yeah, make sure that you're in a nice calm space to do that. Yeah, so I've been experiencing a few things this week, which I think I may have already spoken about when I felt like I was getting detached from my body last weekend. This week has been calmer, except I did move into a massive overwhelm when I was talking to somebody and they brought up somebody else's name that I'd had an experience with in the past couple of months, and I got a massive overwhelm of emotional energy, and my body went into a state of vibration and flux. It's like trauma overload. So my body was trying to process that trauma overload by shaking and vibrating my body. So my spinal grids, my spine started to vibrate. And I literally had a panic attack. So that kind of thing doesn't happen to me very often anymore, so I'm usually quite chill most of the time. But what I realised, and especially with talking to Soma Ara, the Pleiadian channel, that I started to process not just my trauma, I started to process collective trauma. So it kind of felt like I was taking on a 5-mile radius of other people's trauma in that moment. I just sucked everything into me to be processed. And that was uncomfortable. It lasted a couple of hours, to be honest, and then I was fine afterwards. I was able to regulate. But so when we process trauma, if there's people around us who have similar trauma or similar energy that's ready to be processed, it seems to be that we're taking one for the team and we're processing that energy in the community. Okay, I do identify as a community priestess, but that's generally not what I had in mind when I talk about my community service work. So this weekend, yesterday, so we're on the 26th of October right now. So yesterday, I did my monthly afternoon retreat, and this is my priestessing work. So I gather with a few ladies, and we do some reflection, meditation, activation, and we work with sacred scents. So we do the mirror form, Magdalene style work, where we're anointing each other, we're connecting to sacred oils, and those powerful energies as gateways. And until like even the day before, I wasn't entirely sure what we were going to be doing on that retreat afternoon. It was like I just couldn't really lock in. And then a goddess came to me, and I do work with goddesses, but a goddess came to me that I don't always work with because I generally work with super light goddesses. And but the goddess that came to me was Hel. So if you're not familiar with Hel, I actually call her Hela. It is the Norse goddess. So she is the ruler of Helheim. She has her own realm. So, you know, in the past, the Christians feared her. Everybody feared her. The patriarchy feared her. And the Christians named their kind of underworld, their netherworld, after her. So she is Hel. And it says on the card here, end of a cycle. So one side of her face is death, darkness, it's died. The other side is light, fresh, you know, living, full energy. And she reminds us that it's time to come into sacred pause. And the phrase that kept coming in yesterday in my retreat was priestess pause. Priestess pause. So I do some events occasionally with Priestess Presence with Elaine Kalila. She comes to Glastonbury once a year, and that's usually when I go and I attend a Priestess Presence day. But this was about pause. It was about reflection. And so when we tuned into her energies and we started to work with runes, Norse runes, I picked very much runes that were about protection, about reflection and stopping, taking that priestess pause. So she came forward as a very nurturing, very gentle goddess. Of course, she's extremely powerful, being the ruler of Helheim, but she's also a mothering goddess. And when people have passed over and they didn't die in battle, they'll go to Helheim. When there are children that have died in childbirth, mothers and things died in childbirth, and she nurtures them. So she is a very nurturing goddess. So she got that darker side of her, where she, you know, she caretakes the lost. You've got that mothering side of her where she caretakes the fallen who died before their time or didn't know their place. So she's come forward this weekend. And it was a very powerful but really kind of comforting, nurturing session that we did as priestesses in circle. It was really lovely. It was so beautiful and probably exactly what we all needed. So after me going through hours and hours of body shaking trauma release a few days earlier to just be gently embraced. And one of the ways we worked with her was we walked the spiral. So I do a lot of labyrinth style work. So I laid out a spiral on the ground using Norse cards and crystals. And we took that gentle, slow walk, that descent into Helheim. And when we got to the center, we laid down some crystals as an offering, but we put things in the crystals that we just didn't need to hold anymore. So we asked for her to help us. But we also were working with the sword of truth. So we picked up our sword, you know, as priestesses, as Valkyries, as warriors, light warriors. We picked up our sword of truth and anchored in either into the divine or into the earth. So for me, it was anchoring above. But for some of the priestesses, it was anchoring deep into the Mother Earth energies. And so walking that spiral, that descent into darkness, so that we can release what's been burdening us, we can let go of energy that's not ours, and just take that moment to pause, to reflect, to reset our energies. It was very, very powerful. And as I was standing in the center of the spiral, I felt like she was in front of me with her hands on my shoulders, like facing me. So it was for me to stir her in the face, to do that sacred witnessing work and see that she is that balance of light and dark, of beauty and fierceness. She is that balance. And that was a powerful moment for me, because there's a lot of my work that I do that you see me forward facing in the light, but then there's a lot of things that are going on in the astral that even I'm not aware of. Yeah. And then there's other things going on that's getting literally wiped out of my mind at the moment. So yeah, so hell, end of a cycle. So really, really powerful. I'm just going to find her affirmation actually so we can share that. So I love doing the shadow work, but with a goddess or an energy that's quite bright. At the moment on my Saturday group, we are working with Sanat Kumara, who is like a gateway of light. So Hel says, end of a cycle, release what no longer serves you, prepare for transformation. She's an enigmatic Norse underworld queen and goddess of death. Her striking appearance, half light, half dark, represents the spiritual netherworld over which she rules. Mysterious healing realm, where those who've died from disease or old age receive spiritual renewal. Hel is a soul midwife who cares especially for women and babies who die in childbirth. Now the soul midwife, the psychopomp energy, that's really powerful work, and a lot of people are drawn to people at the end of their life, that crossover point, that transformation point. I don't know, I'm a bit in the middle myself. I don't think I'm right there at the end or the beginning. I do a lot of work with people who are rediscovering themselves, redefining their pathway. Yeah, so I call it the mystical wellness path, because before you reach me, you've taken many twists and turns already. And the journey that we do, the journey where I walk beside you, we're looking to see what's the right fit for you. So we might try a few different things, and then we'll eventually find something and blend things together. That's the mystical wellness path work that I do. So Hel, her powers have been universally feared by patriarchy. The Norse gods called her monstrous. The medieval Christian church named the Hel after her. This powerful goddess brings guidance for inevitable change, transition and endings. Her symbols are ravens, black crystals, and the rune symbol Hagalaz, hail. That's exactly the one I picked when I walked the spiral. So that was a direct correlation. We went on a retreat, we did some candle work, and we created bind runes from the runes that we'd selected. So her Hel coming forward at this point in time could be that she's guiding us through major transitions, which I know to be true. That part of your life is coming to a close. So yeah, there's definitely a big changes. The way we work in 2026 is going to be very different to this year. So endings held physical and spiritual renewal. So don't be afraid, you're preparing for transformation. But her coming forward at this time can also mean that we should view a rejection as a sign of something better is coming in. Now this is really true this week actually, because I have found myself getting drawn to somebody, and being ADHD and all that, I do hyper focus a little bit, If you know me well, you'll be like, yeah, not hardly. Like, so I was hyper focusing on somebody, and though I'm not into romantic relationships and things like that at this point in my life, but I was starting to get kind of drawn in, and then my friend Richard, the Urban Warlock, I asked for a reading which would bring up energies about this. And Richard has a phrase of emperors and empresses do not take offers from knights or pages. So as an empress, as a high priestess, as a queen energy, I shouldn't be taking offers from a knight or a page. So a page is somebody who's very childlike, and a knight is somebody who may look the part, but initially they're waiting for orders and things like that. You know, they're not fully sovereign. They're not a king, they're not an emperor. So why would I entertain an offer from that person? So yeah, I was finding myself getting drawn in, perhaps manipulated in some way. And that reminded me, as soon as I heard that come up on my reading, I got kind of a shock, like a slap in the face moment of, oh, right, okay, distraction. So I'd had some kind of distraction energy coming in that's trying to say, look over there, don't look over here. And that's what's been going on. Yeah, because I'm not looking to have relationships at this point. You know, I'm just getting over, in the last 2 years, I'm getting over a marriage and things like that. So I'm actually not looking for relationships. I'm looking for spiritual connections, obviously, spiritual colleagues that I can work with, or podcast partners, that kind of thing. But that was a really big moment for me, realizing that yes, I'm in the Empress stage, I'm in the Queen, the High Priestess stage, the old crone, even wise woman stage of my life. Why would I be entertaining connections with a knight? So that made me question my boundaries, is what's popped into my mind. It made me question how I'm allowing myself to become more vulnerable with some people, and whether it's in our highest good to do that or not. So, and I know that sounds a bit blunt, maybe a bit too personal even, but this is my diary. And so yeah, it's made me reconsider the connections I have around me, and it's really important for me at this particular time, that although I do have close friends that I'm working with, that really we're all just colleagues, we're spiritual colleagues, and this is a spiritual war. So I need to be a little bit more guarded, a little bit more careful, because you never truly know, especially when you're in the community with super soldiers and things like that, and MK Ultra, Monarch programming and things. You never really know if somebody is who they are, who they appear to be, or if there's an altar, an aspect, a program that's going to activate. Because even I've discovered in the last 3 months that there's altered versions of me that actually come forward quite dominantly. So when I'm feeling very aggressive, very negative, there seems to be another version of me that's coming forward. It's not my general day-to-day version, but I know that there was a good part of my life when I was in that altered state a lot, because of the events that were going on around me, or the jobs that I was in, and I was always in that state of fear and anxiety and just rage, pure rage. So I've worked with quite a few people over the last couple of years to help me process emotions in a better way. But still, I felt like recently my judgment was compromised a little bit. I call it malfunction. That was a little bit of malfunction. So yeah, so just remember that. So emperors and empresses do not take offers from knights or pages. Please go check out my friend Richard, the Urban Warlock Healing. He's available on YouTube and TikTok, that kind of thing. He does daily lives. He's got a subscription. It's just £10 a month on his Patreon, and you can get a live reading every day that he's on. Which is pretty cool actually, so I do that a lot now, and try and join him when I can. I also do lives on his channel as well. I do readings like once a month or so, which are really fun. Yeah, so that's what's been going on with me this week. So what else have I noticed? Collectively in the disclosure community, turmoil is the word that's just come to mind. There's absolute turmoil. Let me just check my cards for a second. So I'm working with the Gods, Goddesses, Guardians card deck, which is probably not the right deck for this question. But can I get an idea of what's going on in the disclosure community? In my community, what's happening? And there's lots of different elements and aspects to this big community. I'm generally in the Typical Skeptic podcast community, so that's where I'm comfortable. So sometimes if people send me a request to be on their podcast, I don't always accept because I'm comfortable with certain people. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not looking to talk about myself that much. Okay, so that's a really great card. Is there anything that we need to release from the community? Okay. So the first card that I've pulled in relation to the community that I'm in, so the super soldiers, the full disclosure now, the truth community, UK and USA, Australia, Europe. The first card that came out for us is Aphrodite, and it says eternal love. So there's kind of a redirection that we need to really be focusing on love energy, this divine quantum love energy. It's so important. So we're getting caught up in lots of different things, lots of narratives, lots of personal dramas are taking place as well. People are fighting, people are having interactions which are not always positive. And so we need to just redirect. We need to do that pause. We need to stop. We need to pause and we need to refocus on the mission. And the mission really is love and joy. It really is. How you do it is entirely up to you. But that's why we're here. We're here to experience as much love, joy, and ease as we possibly can. And once we're doing that, once we're fully embodying that, you will be healing and helping everybody in your community. Once everybody's doing that, it's healing and helping the planet, okay, move into ascension. So with Aphrodite coming in, okay, she's basically bringing in eternal love, eternal love. So we are all the same people doing the same things, just in different roles all the time. Like I've reconnected with somebody now from Lyra, and you know what I mean? Celebrate beauty. Okay, that's kind of the message here with hell as well. Celebrate the beauty in the darkness. So a message from Aphrodite: beloved, see yourself as I see you, as an everlasting expression of the divine. Heal those old wounds of not beautiful or not lovable. Look into my mirror and see your true essence. Your relationships echo your relationship with yourself and the goddess. Now, I did a video with Ivan Teller a couple of days back, and we're going to be doing an interview soon as well. So I had a personal reading with Ivan Teller, and he was channeling, I think it was the Zeta Greys at the time. So I do seem to have a Zeta Grey connection. You know, apparently there's a ship where I'm a scientist with my own little team or whatever. And so take what resonates, because that's what I'm trying to do. And but then I asked the question of, are there any altered versions of me that are good? Like all I seem to be encountering are either crazy or not so good or whatever. And the message they said was, yeah, like you need to focus on self-love. So I need to embrace all of me, the light and the dark. So even though you're like hell coming in, she is an embodiment of the light and the dark, you know, the ugly and the beauty. She's right there. So Aphrodite coming in with her eternal love is saying we need to just share and embrace our community as it is. Yes, there's grey tone people, there's dark tone people, there's light tone people. We need to embrace us all so that we can bring our community into balance. Yeah. So like the podcast community, everybody's doing their own kind of different take on things. Sometimes we overlap on narratives. That's great. You know, the more positive connections we can keep making, the better. We'll be able to expand our community. I focus on mystical wellness on this channel when I'm doing interviews with others, but then I've got my personal galactic healing that I'm doing at the same time. So that's why I bring some of that in. But primarily we do mystical wellness here, a bit of magic, a bit of healing, a bit of mental health, that kind of thing. Giving healers and authors a platform. That's my channel. So I've got some great interviews lining up this week, which I'll talk about in a second. So I asked, okay, well, this is great. This is what we should be doing as a community. So is this something we need to release? The card that came out was Isis, Sacred Contracts. So Isis energy. Isis is not really a goddess that I work with that much. And I've noticed working with Ivan Teller for the last couple of weeks, getting personal readings there, that I've been avoiding Egyptian energy for a long time. I'm going to start to look into it more now. But when I asked him, have I been an Egyptian god? He said, well, obviously you've got a connection to Ra. And I said, well, yeah, I know that because my soul told me my name's Alane Ra. So yeah, that's obviously there. And plus I'm a sun person. I go up at 5 a.m. most days. And You know, I try and do meditation first thing in the morning. So I'm definitely a solar person. I'm not a night person. I'm not a moon person. I'm a solar person. Occasionally I'll run moon workshops, but it's only because I know people in my community really like it. So when Isis comes in, it says sacred contracts, rise into your power and purpose, heal the mother wound. So she was worshipped in ancient Egypt for over 7,000 years. Her devotees were prevalent through both Greek and Roman occupations of Egypt and spread into the wider Mediterranean. She encompasses the magic power of all other deities, therefore was known as the Lady of 10,000 Names. Wow. Okay, Isis played a central role as a spiritual teacher and mother to the great leaders of ancient Egyptian civilization. And within goddess spirituality, she's known to hold unique keys to sacred feminine power. Mary Magdalene was initiated in priestess magic under her tutelage. Queen Isis guards our sacred contracts to the great goddess. She helps us rise above past limitations to fulfill our soul's deepest role on earth. So to fulfill our soul's deepest role on earth, okay? Aphrodite is telling us that role is all about love. So let's see what Isis is saying. A life-transforming process is underway. Deep from the underbelly of the Great Mother, a wake-up call is sounding. Holding out her golden ankh symbol, Queen Isis speaks to you. So, it's time to develop and share your deepest soul gifts. You're activating sacred contracts to your divine feminine mission on earth. These are spiritual agreements that reside in your consciousness, okay? So even though it's divine feminine mission, that applies to all of us because we hold both masculine and feminine within us. There are many ways to answer your contracts. If you commit to healing from trauma, you'll be an inspiring example. If you choose to live from your inner truth, you'll make it possible for others to do the same. Your sacred contracts are rooted in whatever you most dream of being, doing, and giving. One thing is clear when you draw this card, you're expanding beyond all limited ideas of who you are and what you think you can do. She says, I bring your relationship with your mother into a healing space and may guide you into therapy. Don't fear this process, as it can bring karmic soul healing for your entire lineage, and you'll feel free to be fully yourself. Now, Isis coming forward right now, and don't forget my question was about our full community, that it could actually be a message of love coming from your mother, coming from that maternal line. It could be that it's time to create a vision board to truly clarify what matters the most to you so that you can get crystal clear on your mission. Or it says it could mean it's for you to commit to your true purpose no matter what it takes. Commit to your true purpose, okay? Now, an invocation for Isis is, I stop playing small and expand beyond all previous limits. I stop playing small and I expand beyond all previous limits, okay? That's something that I struggle with a lot. Because I do have a lot of energy. I can be quite overpowered at times, and even when I do healing hands-on with people, they can find it very uncomfortable, so then I have to come off the body and beam into the energy field. But I stopped playing small. So I've discovered on this journey this year that there's versions of me that are nuts. Powerful, crazy nuts. Like I've been likened to number 7 in the Umbrella Academy. And you know, and other things. So it's crazy, and I'm just trying to come to terms with how this feels. And the number 7 does resonate because I have seen myself use similar ability in the past 2 years, and I've visually seen it. I was awake, aware, conscious, and I've seen plasma balls come out of my body. So that's how I know the number 7 thing resonates, and it was brought up in my ACIO video. I asked the question and it was confirmed, yeah, that's you, and this is what's happened in the past in another realm of existence or whatever. Because don't forget, we're dealing with multiple timelines and realities all at the same time. So there's lots of versions of us all at the same time. Some of them are organic, where your soul is split off. Your higher self is split off, and some of them are not naturally created. They've been created because of trauma and wounding and other people's agendas, which is really not good, but that's something that I'm processing quite deeply at the moment. So I'm having a nice stable day right now. but it hasn't been that stable for the past 2 weeks. So sometimes you have to draw away from people, especially when they've got lots of things going on in their life. And it does seem to me that we are getting targeted through others. I know that to be true from my relationships in the last 20 years, that other people were targeted to handle me, to keep me in a state of anxiety or fear or uncertainty. Even something simple as let's go to the shops or whatever. And then the people around me would just keep, timing was off or cancelling or whatever, so I didn't know what was happening. And I love routine. My family, my dad was very military growing up, so I love routine. We used to eat the same thing on the same day and all that kind of stuff. So I don't like it when I don't have the control that I need to be comfortable, shall we say. Anyway, what else do I want to talk about? Let me think. So my mind has been getting quite wiped out. I think I'm not having that many good dreams. I've been having a lot of battle style dreams. I did have an implant put back into my body by my guide team, which was good. So super soldiers have certain implants in their bodies. One of them I became more aware of recently because I was talking to John Whitberg, or I listened to a video, I think it was, and he was mentioning the language chip in your head. And I experienced that a couple of months ago. I was at an event, Mind Body Spirit event, where I trade, and there is a person there who has this big gong therapy. So you're in a reclining chair, you've got a gong on 3 sides of you, and he's playing these gongs and other things are going on. But it's kind of like, even though you're in the midst of this show where there could be like hundreds of people, you're in this corner experiencing this sound immersion. And I could hear people chattering away in English. And then all of a sudden, my mind switched to Portuguese. And I knew they were speaking Portuguese. I wasn't really aware of what they were saying because it was just so overwhelming. But I knew, wow, why are people speaking Portuguese? And then it was gone. So it was like the gongs had activated like a dormant chip. And then it switched itself back off. So I know that language chip thing is true. I'm not entirely sure how to work with that or how to reactivate that, but I know it's true. And also the left eye implant, like the hood, the heads-up display, that most super soldiers have. That was taken out of my energy field a couple of months ago when I was doing a session with a guest on my podcast, and they saw it was in there and they just kind of released it. And then I was a bit like, oh, what's just happened? And only because I kind of feel like if there's the implant it's going to give me more vision, I want to keep it. Whether that feels good, bad, right or wrong, if it's giving me more vision, I want to keep that, because my mind doesn't always have holographic vision. It doesn't always show me. Sometimes it's very dark in there, like the screen's in the way. So to get that vision, I was like, what's happened? So I was talking to the guides through Ivan Teller the other day and saying, is it in the body? And they said, no, it's not in the body right now. I said, can I have it back, please? And they said, yeah. So the Lyrans and the Andromedans or Arcturians were working with me to put that back in. And I know that's been reactivated because yesterday or the day before, I was in meditation and screens opened up in my mind, multiple screens, tick, 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 opened up in my mind. Now that's happened to me a couple of times before, but this time there was so much going on these screens, I found it really hard to see everything that was going on and to tune into it. So I just tried to focus on one screen on the bottom right hand corner, and I got an image that was basically I was on some kind of ship, and along one side there were lots of people, which could have been clones or units of some kind. There was something in the middle that I couldn't quite determine what that was, and there was like weaponry and things going on there. It was some kind of transport ship is how it felt in my mind. So I'm querying, what is this? And then I got a symbol flash up on the screen as if there was like an error or an alert, and it was E999. Okay, so I didn't know what that meant, whether that was some kind of code, program, override, alert. I had no idea right now, so I'm still exploring into that. So as I tried to explore the images more and ask questions, my mind got distracted to another screen where there was a person, a girl, and she was quite a young looking girl, maybe 10 years old. I knew it wasn't me, but he kind of looked a little bit like me at that age, with kind of like pigtails and then similar hair color to what this is now. But at that age, my hair was much darker, so I knew it wasn't me. But I felt like she's trying to draw my attention away, as if maybe it was like a system trying to, like, the system itself was trying to stop me accessing certain information. It was very, very unusual, and it all happens in very fast timing, so it's hard to gather all the information there. But there was great confirmation for me that that heads up display, that eye implant, left eye implant, was back in the body. So that was really, really good. But also, Ivan Teller had mentioned that the artifact that I've been connecting in with, the pyramid with the sphere inside, can be used as that kind of display. So I'm not sure if it's which one it is, but one of them is definitely activated, which is perfect. So I don't have full control over that kind of thing right now, but it is very useful. I was trying to use a key code that I have to activate my mind, which I think might have worked. We'll see. So in the realm of super soldier stuff, it's very, very interesting. A lot of my alters are scientists, or science coordinators or geneticists, that kind of thing. So my mind is very kind of literal and straightforward, logical. Although it might not seem it sometimes, but that is kind of like everything. I'm analyzing everything. So it's really weird. Okay, so what I've got coming up, this is the 26th of October. I'm going to be away for a couple of days doing my gong healing course, which hopefully I will pass. There's no guarantee I'll pass because I'm actually deaf, which is a bit tricky to be a sound therapist. So I do one-to-one sound immersion therapies. If you meet me in person, that's one of the things I can do, along with anointing and sacred witness work. Plus, I'm a Reiki master, so specialising these days in violet flame Reiki. I don't do as much as my other Reikis, but I love my violet flame Reiki. And I will be teaching a new course of violet flame Reiki level 1 starting in November. So do look out for that. It's Tuesday evenings. 7:30 UK time, which hopefully when the clocks sort themselves out, that'll be like afternoon Eastern time in America. So in the UK, our clocks have changed overnight. So I'm only 4 hours behind Eastern now, I think, instead of 5. But I know you guys in America will be changing your clocks in the next 10 days anyway. So there's just a strange period where our clocks do not sync. To make it more confusing. This week we have got Wirral Pathways Festival, which is a local pagan and spiritual event on the 2nd of November, and I'm one of the lead organisers this year. So tickets are available on Eventbrite. There is 2 rooms of amazing talks and workshops. Really, really exciting. The schedule that I put together is really awesome. Yeah, I can't wait. Plus, you've got a mystical market of local sellers. We've got some healing therapists and things like that. So that's going on. So today I go travelling. I'm actually travelling to Norfolk, which is on the east coast, and I live on the northwest coast. So I'm travelling across country today. It's probably going to take us about 5 hours, which is a lot for us in the UK. And I'm going to be staying in a hotel. I do have plans today to do a video with New Skin, and we will see. So Nuskin and I have been working together offline to do some healing, collective energy healing, Lyran collective energy healing, because we seem to have a Lyran connection that goes back to the Lyran Wars. So we've been working together to balance both of our energies to allow us to do that Lyran healing, because he's a gifted psionic as well. So we've been working on that together. So we're going to be doing hopefully a video today so that he can talk about his experiences in the breakaway civilizations, in Kruger, in Naguafin, and other things that he remembers. So as he does his disclosure, as he expresses, that's healing for him and for others who've been in those experiences. This is why we do these videos. I'm also going to be doing a video on Monday, which hopefully will release Monday night, with Ivan Teller, the ET Psychic channel. And this is an interview, a podcast interview with Ivan. Also, my sister Suzanne is having a private session with Ivan beforehand, so that's going to be a bit of an eye-opener. So we'll see what comes out of that. And then Wednesday this week, I'm planning to do a video with Matthew Mornian, and hopefully Honora as well would be awesome if she came on. And we will see how that goes. So yeah, he's a really gifted psychic and healer and tarot reader. So I'm looking forward to spending some time with those guys. Blue Flame Collective, I think, so I'm going to do some research into that. What else? There is the Halloween podcast with Typical Skeptic coming up, so I'm planning to drop in on that for 20 minutes or whatever and just see who's on there. We will see. If I can do that, it depends on the timings, to be honest, because our clock is not so good. Sometimes the podcasts run at like 3 a.m. my time, whereas I moderate in the Typical Skeptic chat. I can't always make some of the timing, so I love it when he does the early shows, which is perfect for me. In December, we have the UK Disclosure Conference by Basis TV with Miles Johnston, and that is the 12th to 14th of December. This is a really big event for us here in the UK because we're having UK experiences, European experiences, and American experiences are coming over for this disclosure conference. So Miles will be putting out more videos soon with a schedule and things like that. But from the US, we've got Drago Reed as the opening keynote speaker on the Friday. And Drago is going to be talking about his super soldier experiences. I can't think of the title of the talk right now. I'll have to find it, but it's going to be really awesome, and that's going to be a minimum of 3 hours because, you know, he just has so much amazing content that he has discovered, amazing testimony that he has discovered at great personal risk to himself, that he's bringing forward, and I'm really looking forward to actually meeting him in person because we have a connection in the programs, so that's going to be really interesting. Brad Olson's also doing a talk on Antarctica. I think we have got Dr. Amir Jahangiri doing a talk about the mantids. I did a video with Dr. Amir in the last couple of weeks, which was awesome. We've got Penny Bradley, who's doing a remote talk, so she's not coming to the UK, but she will be kind of zooming in, Skyping in or whatever. And then there's loads of UK and Europe people as well, so I'm going to find out more details so I can talk more about that. But Miles Johnston from basistv.org, he has been having some health issues recently, which I do believe is targeting. So whenever we do these big events, there's always an element of targeting going on. So I asked on my Ivan Teller session, it was Archangel Michael that was being channeled through. I asked if there was going to be some kind of, you know, dangerous experience at the UK conference, and the Archangel said no, we are taking steps to ensure that does not happen. There may be minor interruptions, but there's not going to be anything dangerous happening, no near-death experiences or anything like that, which is brilliant. Because when you get people together who are all very powerful spiritual community and, you know, psychics and things like that, there's always going to be some level of targeting there because the dark forces do not want you to get together. Yeah, because amazing things happen when we do get together, so that's, just bear that in mind. Okay. I can't think of anything else to talk about right now. I've got a 50% sale off on my website, anchorhaven.co.uk. So if you go to the services tab, how to work with Julia, the diary will pop up with lots of different options of things that we can do together. I can always put together a bespoke session for you. If you are unable to pay the fees that are on my website, please just send me a message. If there's something going on with you and you need some support, please just send me a message and we'll see if we can work something out. Also in the shop page, there are distance healings, readings, activations. You can even do Reiki level 1 as a home study course, or we can do Zooms together and things like that. So all of my violet flame work can be done online. So I've got 3 or 4 violet flame courses. So we've got the Violet Flame Reiki Mastery program, which is all 4 levels and 40 symbols. This can be done in one go over 16 weeks, or it can be done daytime, or it can be done split over 1 level over 3 or 4 weeks, that kind of thing. The reason I do that is because there's a lot of reflection work. We're connecting in with sacred symbols, and these symbols are conscious keys. So rather than me just doing one day with you and saying, here you go, here's the information, we allow ourselves to transform in that process. So we take 4 weeks per each level. We have a coaching session together on Zoom, plus there's access to my training portal on Thinkific. And the best thing I found about this is because you're taking that time to do the healing. So we're healing together week by week by week. And it's such a transformational process, it really is. Every time I teach Violet Flame Reiki, I go through another transformation. I connect into the symbols differently. All the energies of every student, every Reiki master that comes into the program is putting their information, their energy, you know, their connections in. So the symbols are transforming and growing, and we're unlocking more and more and more as we go through this process. So my courses are always available to resit at half price if you wanted to refresh your energies, or you just wanted to spend time, you know, in that container that we create. So it's a lovely way to do your continual professional development, is to book in. If I've got space as well, sometimes I can put in a student from the past for free. So do reach out if you'd like to work with me. I've got mentorships as well, which are currently half price for one more week. So have a look at my mentorships on my services page, and these are bespoke sessions that we can do together over 6 weeks, 3 months, or 6 months. And if you book in October, they will be half price. And there's so many different things we can do together, but it is bespoke. So there'll be a mixture of things, or there might be new things that we channel in together. But generally, we're looking to see where you are on your mystical wellness pathway and how we can kind of define that together for you. How, you know, you might have experiences and I'll say, well, actually, I've got this goddess coming forward and she's like to work with you. And then we explore that energy. If you're not sure where to start at all, that's perfect as well, because then I can introduce you to a few different things to find out what you're excited about. So passion is key. That creative life force really is key in the work that I do. Plus I've got the Akashic record healing as well. So we can clear out what's limiting you. We can start to let that go. We can do the quantum crystal work together, really clear through the light body, bring in upgrades for you to get you where you feel you would like to be at this point. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching my diary. I appreciate it. It really helps me being able to vocalize what's going on with me. It might not always make sense. Sometimes it might be a bit too personal or emotional, but this is the documentation process that I'm doing. If you are finding that you're in a similar situation, please head to my website on the debrief page, so anchorhaven.co.uk/debrief. There's a couple of videos on there. There's information and downloads of what to do when you start to get your memories back that are multidimensional and make no sense in your life. So take care, everyone. Thank you.